Some of the highlights of school for many students are sporting events, graduation, and school dances. Before these events, it is important to have a serious conversation with your teen. Today, we are meeting with Officer Phillips and Officer Haight from the Springford School Police Department. Let's talk about some tips that we can share with our community.
Well, it's great that we're talking about homecoming and prom, especially graduation season. We have all these great events that we're really eager to celebrate here. And I know that our students want to celebrate with their families and friends. I think it's great that we're sitting down to talk about what parents should do specifically when it comes to planning out these parties and where your child is going to be in the community. Referencing a plan with your student is a huge idea. We really want to know where our kids are going to go, what the plan is, what time is your event going to begin, when is it going to end, how are you going to get there, who's driving you there, are you driving yourself? Is there going to be food served at this party? Are there parents present? Have you contacted these parents for the party? There's a lot of things that parents forget to think about. We remember these things when our children are really young, and we like to think about sleepovers when they're in elementary school, and we are very conscientious about calling parents and checking backgrounds and making sure that we know who our child is spending time with. And as they progress through school, we tend to get a little more lax with these questions. But I think as parents of teenagers, we need to really make sure that we're checking where they're going and have a clear and concise plan.
So what should the parents do if their teen does ask about an after party?
I think it's important to figure out where they're going, what they're doing, know all the hot spots, know who's going to be there. Are there going to be adults that are going to be there? Is there going to be food? How are they getting there? How are they getting home? Perhaps more importantly, it's important to ask if there's going to be alcohol. It's an okay question to ask. It's something that you as a parent have a right to know and you have a right to ask. As well as how they're getting home. We touched on how they're getting there, how they're getting home. With teenagers comes driving, and driving at night. And there's so many distractions. It's important to have that discussion with your teen as well about how many people are going to be in the car, where are you going to be driving, what roads, as well as the normal safety things, texting and driving, and just being aware of your surroundings.
Okay, so how can parents address the issues with consequences? I mean, if something happens, there's going to be consequences. How can the parents address that and talk about that with their teens?
I think it's important to have that discussion early. You don't want to wait until the night before or the night of. It's important to have that discussion early on, talk about what the boundaries are, establish them clear, the rules, the boundaries, and also the consequences, so that your teen knows exactly where the line is and what happens if he crosses it. If consequences can be anything, you're losing the car, you're losing your phone, which is pretty much a death sentence for a child for a brief period of time.
So what happens if a teen does find themselves in an uncomfortable situation?
I think it's really important for teens to know that their parent is there to protect them and make sure they get home safe. And as a parent, we need to have that conversation with our child ahead of time. Hey, listen, if you ever need a ride, give me a call. I'll make sure you get home, no questions asked. And follow through with that. If your kid reaches out to you and says, Mom, I need a ride home, go pick them up, make sure they get home safe. Don't talk about it that night. Wait until another time where you guys can sit down as a family and discuss the outcome of that situation and how they can look out for themselves better in the future. I know a lot of parents have a safe code they use with their kids. Some kids can text an X to their parent knowing that they need a ride. That way other people don't know what's going on. So planning this ahead of time can really help, but having that ability to reach out to a parent is a really great thing for kids to know that they can call for help and they're going to get help if they need it.
So what's a good protocol if a teen does ask to go to a party after an event?
Well, if your teen asks to go to a party, you're winning parenting already because they're talking to you about their after hours activities. I think that you really need to, again, set those expectations of what your house rules are. Let them know that, I expect you to be home at this time. Contact those parents ahead of time. Reach out to those family members and say, are you going to be there? I know we've talked about this already, but really emphasize those hard questions that a lot of people are afraid to ask and say, who's going to be there? Is there alcohol going to be served? And really get a plan for your child before the main event and try to talk about this a few days in advance.
So if there's going to be a party, somebody has to host it.
Yes.
What happens if your teen asks if they can have friends before or after a dance or any kind of event?
I think that's a discussion that you need to have with your child and coordinate very carefully, not only with your child but with the parents of the children who are going to, or the teens who are going to be arriving. if you're going to be the one hosting the party, it's important to make sure you take stock and inventory of your house. Get the alcohol out of the way. Get prescription medicines, which a lot of people don't think about, out of the way. Get them hidden. And just make your home a safe place for those teens. A lot of parents think it's okay to provide alcohol, to provide those kinds of things for a party for their children and for the other students that are attending, because they think they have permission from the other parents even. That's never okay. It's never acceptable. And there are many, many possible consequences to that, both civil and criminal, that a lot of people don't think of. They think if I get the keys from everybody, nobody's driving, nobody's leaving, and that's just a very, very difficult situation for everyone. And I think we
Yeah.
can touch on some of the consequences
Terry and I
there.
have seen that in our careers countless times where parents have parties, underage drinking parties, and there are just consequences that they didn't ever anticipate. And unfortunately, I know you touched on the criminal aspect of it, you are responsible for these young children in your home. If they're under the age of 21 and they're consuming alcohol, you're assuming liability for them. And there could be some significant consequences. I know that in the past we have seen students who have been unintentionally hurt or have overdosed on alcohol. We don't know what medications these children are on that could counter with alcohol. You don't know who's allergic to alcohol. There's so many things that can happen. It's just not worth the risk.
So this night's going to be stressful, whether your student's communicating with you or not. What are some ways that parents can deal with the stress of this night?
I think probably the best thing to do, if you can, if you're able, is to stay up until your teen is home. And if that's not possible, have a situation where you coordinate with another adult who is able to monitor your student and be able to keep track of them, know when they're getting home, and maybe even stay in touch with your teen throughout the night. Just a simple, quick check-in, let them know you're still there if they need you, and let you know that they are okay and where they are.
And it's around the age that they're driving, or their friends at least are driving. What are some transportation tips that, from the officers, you guys could give the parents?
Well, number one, make sure that weather permitted, you're prepared. We're coming up on the fall and the winter. Is there going to be significant snowfall or rain? Are you prepared for that? Is your vehicle operational? Do you have enough gas to get from point A to point B? Make sure everyone that you're driving with is wearing a seatbelt. No one's texting and driving. And also make sure that you have a way to navigate where you're going. A lot of our kids are so used to driving to and from these school places during the day. Once night falls, are they comfortable driving at night? Do they know what landmarks to look for, the names of the roads?
All right, so you guys gave us a really good amount of information. Is there any other tips that our community should know about these dances or these events?
Well, I think that for us, and just to prevent things like this from happening, these unintentional dangers from underage drinking parties, if parents know about them or have heard about them, contact your local law enforcement and let them know what you know and try to prevent them from happening.
So we heard a lot about consequences. That word's been coming up a lot here in our conversation. Can you go into some of the actual consequences that people can have?
Sure. Under Pennsylvania Crimes Code, furnishing alcohol to minors is classified as a misdemeanor in the third degree. Fines for that include a $1,000 fine for the first child and then a $2,500 fine for every subsequent child that's in your home that's consuming alcohol. In addition, there could be possible jail time depending on other negative things that would happen while you're hosting this party: probation, loss of your reputation, loss of your home due to civil liabilities. And civil liabilities are something that most people don't think about when they host a party.
A lot of people think when they have all the keys in that bowl, they're covered. What they're not really considering is they have a house full of teenagers who are drinking, who aren't accustomed to drinking, and who get hungry. And 2 o'clock in the morning, you have a group of intoxicated teenagers walking down a dark, narrow roadway to get to Wawa to get some sandwiches. And the potential for disaster there is great. And Officer Phillips and I have both seen that and the consequences of that. You're taking that all upon yourself. You're taking that civil liability on yourself to be responsible for those children. And as was mentioned earlier, anything can happen in the house, sexual assaults. Those parents who agreed with you to allow you to provide alcohol to those children suddenly will most likely not have agreed for that when things go badly.